I'll tell you straight, the letter showed up the same morning I rehung my father's flag on the porch. Coffee in one hand, screwdriver in the other. I looked down and saw a certified envelope from the HOA. My name misspelled like they'd already decided who I was. Notice of violation and intent to sue. Over a porch my granddad framed in '78. In a small workshop I'd just finished, 10 feet inside the rock line he stacked by hand half a century ago. Well, you know how it goes. Some folks don't like the view unless they own it. The workshop wasn't fancy. Cedar siding. Tin roof that sang when it rained. A single window facing my pasture. I built it to store my father's old tools, still marked with his initials burned into the handles. And a bench sturdy enough for my boy to learn on. The HOA claimed I'd encroached. Spoiled the community sightline. And, my favorite phrase, eroded architectural harmony. Across the street, Karen, that's what everyone called her. Because sometimes the name just fits, stood in her driveway. Filming me like my hammer was a weapon. I walked over, letter tucked in my back pocket. "Morning," I said. She didn't look up. "You've blocked the view." "We paid for that view." "You paid for your lot," I told her, pointing where their sod ended and my scrub began. "This is my land. The shop's 10 feet inside. You'll hear from the board," she said, smiling that thin, polite smile that never reaches the eyes. 3 days later, I showed up to the board meeting in clean jeans and a church shirt, hat in hand. Deed folded like scripture. The president loafers. Polished like he thought they proved. Something started his sermon on community. Harmony. Talked about uniformity like we were matching lawn ornaments instead. Of people with histories, when they called my name, I laid the deed down and spoke slow. This boundary hasn't moved since my grandfather stacked that rock wall 6 summers. Little whiskey and a lot of sweat. I built inside the line. Didn't block a road or anyone's porch view. Just hung a light over my bench and stored the tools that kept my family fed. Karen's hands shot up before they even asked for comments. "He's changed the whole character of the street," she said. "We can't see sunsets from our living room anymore. We bought here for that." Now my husband's blood pressure is up. A few neighbors coughed. Others looked away. The man in loafers cleared his throat. Given the seriousness, he said, "We're moving forward with legal action." I walked out under a pinkled sky and called my sister. She reminded me to breathe. Dad always said, "Never raise your voice when paper will do." She was right. I called an old surveyor. Man's known this land longer than I've been alive. He dug up dusty plats, traced the lines with a shaky finger, and chuckled. "Son, not only are you inside your boundary, you're 10 feet inside. They ought to thank you for giving him extra sky." Still, the complaint came. 6 pages of legal fluff that really meant we just don't like it. So I built my own paper trail. Every email, every permit, every faded photograph of that rock wall from Grandpa's day. I'm not a man who looks for fights. But I don't step off my own porch either. One afternoon, a sheriff's deputy stopped by to keep the peace, while the HOA's architectural committee took photos. He was young, kind eyes, wedding ring. He couldn't stop spinning. After a quick glance at the county permit pinned to my fridge, he leaned in and said, "You're good, sir. Just let 'em tire themselves out." So I did. I stood there beside him, watching strangers measure shadows that didn't belong to them. While the flag waved above us, steady as truth, court day felt like walking into a bank. Cold air, polished smiles, the kind of silence that costs money. The HOA lawyer smelled like cologne and confidence. He started tossing around fancy terms: sightline impairment, aesthetic injury, comparative value. You'd think my cedar siding was an environmental hazard. When it was my turn, I kept it simple. I checked the code, pulled a permit, built inside my line. My dad's tools are in that shop, and my family's flag flies above it. Just told the truth plain and steady. The surveyor brought maps older than anyone in that room, pointed to the markers and said no encroachment, no violation. Then came Karen. She testified about sunsets like they were constitutional rights and claimed her. Visual rhythm was disturbed. The judge, calm, sharp-eyed, listened, then asked, "Do you have any legal basis, beyond preference, for removing a structure built lawfully within the owner's property?" The room went quiet enough to hear a pen drop. The lawyer started, "Your Honor, the governing documents." She cut him off. "Do not supersede county code or state law, nor do they guarantee a view absent an easement." "Do you have an easement?" He didn't. She turned to me. "Mr. Cross, anything to add?" I cleared my throat. "Only that my father taught me to care for what's mine and respect what isn't. I've tried to do both." The judge nodded once. "Complaint dismissed. Defendant's costs reimbursed. And this court recommends the HOA review its enforcement priorities." Her gavel dropped. Sounded like thunder on wood outside. The young deputy met me on the steps. "Told you," he said with a grin. "Paper does the work. Word travels fast in neighborhoods that share trash days and gossip." That evening, I fired up the old grill, the one that sputters unless you talk nice to it. My boy was inside the new workshop sanding a cedar shelf. Learning patience, one stroke at a time. Across the way, Karen's curtains twitched. Maybe she was watching. Maybe not. Either way, the sunset didn't need her permission. Two neighbors wandered over, plates in hand, half smiles on their faces. I handed them burgers and didn't say a word. The flag above us moved slow, not proud, just peaceful. Later, when the crickets started their meeting, I walked the old rock line. Stones smooth from seasons, nicked where winter left its mark. I ran my hand along the top like tracing history, a promise carved in stone. Stay honest. Stay square. Stay home. A week later, an HOA email landed short, stiff, almost polite. They attached a revised enforcement policy with words like de-escalation and dialogue. Good. Let M talk first next time. Maybe they'll remember a view isn't something you own. It's something you share. A few days after that, a box showed up on my porch. No name, just twine. Inside was a jar of peach preserves, and a faded photo of my grandfather at 26, lifting a limestone block while Dad, 8 years old, grinned beside him. Didn't say who sent it. Didn't need to. Some things find their way home on their own. I'm not telling this to brag. I'm telling it because sometimes the ground under your boots is the last honest thing you've got. And when somebody tries to redraw your lines for the sake of harmony, well, harmony's not everyone singing the same note. It's everyone knowing where their line is. Communities aren't uniforms. They're quilts stitched from different stories, held together by respect. So if you ever find yourself holding that HOA letter, heart pounding, wondering if you're the crazy one, breathe. Read the paper. Be kind. Stand your ground. And when it comes time to fight, let the truth do the talking. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers through a judge's calm voice and leaves you with a sunrise that feels brand new. That night, the world quiet again and the flag rustling above my porch, I set my coffee on the rail, breathed in that cool cedar air, and thought, yeah, this is home. Ever stood up to an HOA bully? Or had a neighbor stand up for you? Tell me below. I read every story, and if you believe some fights are worth having, hit subscribe and join our porch stories.